Welcome to the Google Cloud update for the week of June 22nd, 2026. I am your host, and today is Friday, June 26th, 2026. We have an absolutely packed episode for you today, recapping some of the biggest and most exciting announcements across the Google Cloud ecosystem from this past week. Today, we are diving deep into critical Google Kubernetes engine issues and their workarounds, a massive set of updates to BigQuery and Looker featuring brand new conversational analytics capabilities, and critical database upgrades like Spanner's brand new direct connectivity. We will also cover essential networking updates like private bucket access for Cloud CDN, a security overhaul for Cloud Build, and key changes to several Google Cloud services. There is a lot to get through, so let's jump right in. First, let's look at Google Kubernetes Engine, or GKE. This week, the GKE team highlighted two critical issues that you will definitely want to keep on your radar if you are managing workloads. If you are working with GKE cluster versions starting with 1.34.1, with the sidecar mounter image version 1.21.9, you might experience issues where cloud storage fuse volumes fail to mount. When this happens, you will see a mount volume setup failed error with exit code 255. This is because the GCS Fuse sidecar tries to spin up before the GKE metadata service is fully ready, leading to a connection refused error. Google has provided three mitigations. First, you can upgrade your cluster to a fixed version such as 1.34.8, 1.35.3, or 1.36.0 or later. Second, you can deploy an init container in your pod to validate that the metadata service is active before the sidecar starts up. Or third, you can manually inject the sidecar container to make sure it is blocked by your own init container. While we are on GKE, there's another startup issue related to performance optimizations. In GKE version 1.35 and later, nodes start up much faster. While fast nodes are usually a great thing, it is causing workloads using Data Plane v2 and Workload Identity Federation to experience transient connectivity timeouts or refused connections to the GKE metadata server immediately after node startup. If your application does not automatically retry its connection requests, it will fail. As a workaround, the GKE team recommends deploying an init container to hold off requests until connectivity is stable. Alternatively, you can disable the fast boot optimization by adding a dummy network policy that selects no workloads, such as in an empty namespace, directly to Data Plane v2. They are working on a permanent patch, so keep your eyes open for that. Moving on to analytics and business intelligence, this has been an absolutely massive week for BigQuery and Looker. Let's talk about BigQuery first. BigQuery's Conversational Analytics is now officially generally available. This brings a state-of-the-art AI reasoning engine powered by Gemini right into BigQuery Studio, completely changing how non-technical users interact with data. Instead of writing complex SQL queries, users can now chat with their data using natural language. The system builds and runs data agents that understand custom business rules. For instance, you can define that top performers refers to revenue rather than the number of deals. The GA release comes with a bunch of brilliant enhancements. You can choose whether your agent uses strictly generally available models or mixes in preview models. You can also adjust the agent's thinking mode mid-conversation, and the agent can now ask clarifying questions when a prompt is vague. Best of all, responses now include context citations, showing you the exact data sources Gemini utilized to generate its answers. Plus, agents can now run native AI functions directly during conversations, including AI key drivers, AI if, AI score, AI classify, AI similarity, and AI search. If you want to try it out on fresh data, you can now preview conversations with datasets. Speaking of searches, vector search in BigQuery now supports hybrid search in preview. This means you can combine semantic and keyword searches using the vector search function. If your tables have autonomous embedding generation turned on, you can simplify things using the hybrid mode in the AI search function. You can even extend a vector index to include keyword metadata, massively speeding up those hybrid searches. BigQuery has also introduced trigger-based scheduling in preview. This lets you automatically kick off BigQuery pipeline executions the second specific tables are updated. No more guessing intervals or running cron jobs that waste resources. Additionally, if you need to ingest metadata, the BigQuery data transfer service can now import metadata from Oracle and MySQL directly into the Knowledge Catalog, which is the new name for Dataplex. On the business intelligence side, we have Looker 26.10, which began rolling out on June 22nd. First up, Looker project deployments have gone asynchronous. No more staring at a static loading bar while you deploy your production code. Looker now runs deployments in the background, hands you a deployment ID instantly, and lets you get back to work. There is a new Go to Deployment Manager button in the IDE's Deploy tab to check the background progress. Looker also added several major visualization and styling enhancements in preview. The Google Maps integration is getting massive updates with fully supported vector maps that allow tilt, rotation, and dynamic 3D extrusion. There is also a dual-axis metric comparison allowing you to overlay heat maps and points, as well as transit and route overlays. Looker is also replacing the standard single-value charts with a preview of KPI single-value visualizations. This introduces secondary spark lines or bar charts directly in the tile, better comparisons against other query rows, and customized background colors. For usability, dashboard editors can now use the preserved desktop layout setting to keep dashboards looking crisp and zoomable on mobile screens rather than breaking the layout. You can also turn filters into draggable, rearrangeable tiles on the canvas. Description limits on dashboards and looks have jumped from a tiny limit up to 2,000 characters, so you can write proper documentation right where users see the data. On the administrative side, offboarding has become incredibly clean. Admins can now programmatically transfer ownership of dashboards, boards, and data agents using the Looker API by updating the associated user ID. This automatically gives the new owner edit access. Oh, and a quick warning, if you update the Gemini Enterprise instance connected to Looker, any data agents published to the old instance will be unpublished, so you will need to republish them manually. To wrap up analytics, managed service for Apache Spark, formerly known as Dataproc on Compute Engine, has kicked off the rollout of its new subminor image versions. Keep in mind that these images don't have pre-configured conda channels or default aliases. Let's move over to databases, where we have highly requested security and usability updates. For Cloud SQL for MySQL, Google has introduced an upgrade readiness pre-check in preview. Major database upgrades are notoriously stressful, but now you can run an automated pre-check before a major upgrade. It will scan your MySQL instances for incompatibilities and flag any issues you need to resolve beforehand, saving you from failed upgrade attempts. Over on the security side, Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL and SQL Server now support Customer Managed Encryption Keys, or CMEK, for enhanced backups. This feature is generally available and allows you to use Google Cloud Backup and DR service to protect your CMEK-enabled instances. If you are running high-performance, globally distributed applications, Spanner now supports direct connectivity in general availability. Bypassing the front end entirely, your application traffic avoids Google front-end servers and routes directly to the Spanner servers. This direct routing significantly reduces round-trip network latency. And for Bigtable users, Bigtable Studio is receiving a major update. You can now create hot backups and modify your backups directly within Bigtable Studio. Plus, the Studio Explorer search capability now lets you find all resources except for authorized views and column families. To round out databases, Database Migration Service MySQL Homogeneous Migrations now support MySQL version 9.7 in preview. Next up, let's dive into some infrastructure, networking, and compute features. On the networking side, we have an exciting general availability release for Cloud CDN and external application load balancers. Self-service private bucket access for cloud storage. Previously, serving content through CDN required you to navigate complex setups or make buckets public. Now, you can keep your buckets private and serve content securely. Access is managed on the backend bucket through IAM permissions assigned to a Google Managed Service account. This is a massive win for security compliance. For VPCs, there are 3 exciting updates. First, you can now cancel pending deletion requests for VPC network peering connections that are in consensus mode, now generally available. Second, private Service Connect interfaces can now connect to network attachments by adding service class IDs to an accept list, which is also generally available. And third, in preview, ROS VPC networks for virtual machines now support assigning alias IP ranges to MRDMA versus NICs. This supports high-performance zonal clusters for heavy-duty AI training and computing. To handle those heavy computing workloads, Dataflow workers can now utilize hyperdisk balanced disks. This allows you to provision disk IOPS and throughput entirely independently of the disk size using pipeline parameters like disk provisioned IOPS and disk provisioned throughput. Speaking of heavy computing, managing your compute budget just got easier. Resource-based committed use discount, or CUD, recommendations are now generally available for GPUs, local SSD disks, and premium operating system licenses. Google Cloud will analyze your spending trends and automatically recommend commitments that can save you significant money over list prices. And if you want to optimize your clusters before deploying, the AI hypercomputer platform has previewed Gemini integration directly in the console. You can chat with Gemini to evaluate hardware options, estimate costs, and get recommended configurations before spinning up expensive clusters. For backups, you can now set up application-consistent backups for Compute Engine instances directly through the Google Cloud Console, using Guest Flush for Linux or VSS for Windows. Also, cross-region backups for backup and DR service is now generally available, allowing you to protect virtual machines, disks, and file store instances against entire regional outages. For VMware Engine users, the operations team is upgrading the HCX Manager appliance to version 4.11.4, resolving an issue with MON-enabled segments. Remember, you're responsible for upgrading HCX on-premises connectors and the service mesh appliances. And Google Distributed Cloud Connected version 1.11.2 has patched a bug, ensuring the data plane no longer refuses to forward traffic from secondary IPs after a cluster software upgrade. To round out this section, Cloud Monitoring's Metrics Explorer can now automatically break down a chart into a series of distinct tiles based on label keys, making it incredibly easy to spot anomalies or spikes that aggregate charts hide. Plus, the Monitoring Alert Viewer role is now generally available, and Cloud Logging will alert you and stop routing logs if a bucket's parent project changes. Finally, let's explore security, developer tools, and the broader application ecosystem. For developers using Cloud Build, there is an important security update regarding GitLab Enterprise and Bitbucket data center connections. Cloud Build uses Secret Manager to store secrets for authenticating with these providers. Previously, the Cloud Build service agent fetched these secrets without validating the calling user's credentials. To enforce the principle of least privilege, Cloud Build will now strictly check that both the calling principal and the service agent have the Secret Manager version's access IAM permission on the secret. If they don't, the connection will fail. For infrastructure as code, Config Connector version 1.152.0 is out. It introduces direct reconciliation support in preview for compute reservation and Firestore index using the cnrm.cloud.google.com/reconciler direct annotation. It also fixes some bugs, including case sensitivity issues on SQL instance availability types. For application security, Identity Aware Proxy, or IAP, now supports securing agent to anywhere egress for Agent Gateway, which is generally available. In sensitive data protection, image safety classification info types are now supported in exclude by image findings and adjust by image findings rules. This allows you to easily refine your scan results. Image scanning has also expanded to several new regions: Asia Southeast 1, US East 4, and US West 1. In the application and security operations space, Google Security Operations has integrated Gemini Cloud Assist directly within the feed management interface. If you're struggling to configure logs, set up feeds, or troubleshoot ingestion issues, you can click the Ask Gemini Cloud Assist button to open a guidance panel. For those deploying containerized workloads, the latest confidential space image now supports graceful shutdowns during power button events, and Cloud Shell has made a surprising change. Yes! They have removed the Terraform CLI from the default environment. If you want to use Terraform, you will need to customize your shell startup script or persist the binary in your home directory. Also, if you are running Google Cloud Contact Center as a Service, or CCAAS, be aware that Web SDK version 2 will be shut down today, June 26, 2026. Make sure to upgrade your website to version 3 immediately to avoid integration disruption. CCAI platform version 4.43 has also been released, bringing HubSpot lookup customizations, direct call language settings, and CSET survey support. There is also a preview of the Cortex Framework version 7, which adds many SAP ERP data accelerators and customization documentation. Finally, there are several key role changes in IAM. App Engine's admin, editor, and viewer roles are now generally available, as is the Secret Manager editor role. Cloud Run has introduced new custom role permissions for SSH access, specifically run instances SSH read, SSH root, and equivalent permissions for jobs, services, and worker pools. And the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform, formerly known as Vertex AI, has added instance group management, logging operations, and observability permissions to its service agent role. Custom role permissions have also been added to several services like bare metal solution on demand evict permissions, workload manager findings creation, and network connectivity center service attachments. And that wraps up a jam-packed edition of the Google Cloud Update. From GA Conversational Analytics in BigQuery to asynchronous Looker deployments and major GKE startup mitigations, there's a lot of power and security to configure in your projects this week. Disclaimers and full details can be found in the official Google Cloud release notes. Thank you so much for listening. We hope these updates help you build faster, safer, and smarter. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Google Cloud Update.